Hi, VencoreWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Friday, March 18th. Accumulating snow still on the table for the I-95 corridor region between D.C., Philadelphia, and New York City for later this weekend. Low pressure will form near the Mid-Atlantic coastline later Saturday night, early on Sunday, and then intensify and move up to the northeast during the latter part of the weekend. Still some questions that remain. We've talked about possible outcomes. One, producing an inland solution for the low pressure storm track. That does not look like that will happen. We kind of dismissed that possibility a few days ago. A couple of other solutions. One is that the low pressure area intensifies rapidly, hugs the Mid-Atlantic coastline. That could produce some significant snowfall in the I-95 corridor region. Finally, a third solution is that the storm forms farther to the east, farther off the east coast, and intensifies relatively slowly compared to the second scenario, and that latter solution would produce less in the way of snow over the I-95 corridor region in D.C., Philly, and New York City. The overnight models changed somewhat, specifically the European model, which had a closer to the coast solution yesterday, shifted a little bit farther to the east with a little bit slower intensification. Therefore, its snow accumulation amounts have dropped considerably compared to yesterday's foot or more in some areas. We'll show that near the end, and we'll focus in on several different computer forecast models right now. Certainly, there's still some questions that remain, but also it's certain that accumulating snow is quite likely in parts of the I-95 corridor later this weekend, anytime from the Saturday night time frame into Sunday night. Let's begin here with the Canadian model run from last night. All of these maps in the next few minutes from tropicaltidbits.com. This is using 0Z model run data. Again, here's the Canadian forecast for tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. Then we'll walk through it in 6-hour increments. First of all, an Arctic frontal system will come through the I-95 corridor region late today, early tonight. We had one cold front that passed through late yesterday. A relatively weak front in terms of its impact on temperatures. This is the real deal coming later today, early tonight. Temperatures drop noticeably in the overnight hours down to near freezing in many areas by tomorrow morning. And here, come tomorrow morning, we have a strong, cold Arctic high pressure system situated up over southeastern Canada on its east side, screaming northerly winds, pumping cold Arctic air into the Appalachian areas and to the coastal plain region. It'll be a cold day on Saturday, high temperatures only in the 40s. Meanwhile, lots of moisture gathering itself down in the southeastern part of the country with low pressure situated here near the northern Gulf of Mexico. Let's now walk through 6-hourly increments, and here is Saturday afternoon. Moisture pushing close to the D.C. metro region, and finally tomorrow evening, just on the doorstep of the D.C. metro region, still nice cold high pressure situated up to the north, low pressure now over Georgia, and finally by later tomorrow night starting to see some rain in the D.C. metro region, represented here by the green precipitation. Blue is where it's snowing here according to the Canadian model run. Let's now jump ahead another 6 hours and just keep walking through this. And now we're at Sunday morning. And notice now any precipitation that begins in the form of rain changes over to snow ultimately in D.C. Snowing now in the Philly and New York City metro regions. Again, this is early Sunday afternoon. Let's jump ahead another 6 hours. And here are the low pressure, excuse me, off the Mid-Atlantic coastline with snowback basically in the I-95 corridor and points to the north and west. Some decent snow in and around New Jersey, certainly the northern half of New Jersey. Let's now jump ahead another 6 hours. And there you go, pretty nice comma ahead to the precipitation pattern here with snow in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City as that low intensifies and moves off to the north and east. Finally, let's go another 6 hours, and this is Monday morning. Pretty decent snow event here depicted by the Canadian model. Still snowing, in fact, early Monday morning near D.C. and certainly across Philadelphia and New York City, and quite an intense low to the east of Maine by Monday morning. Well, let's now take a look at last night's GFS model run. Again, these maps are from tropicaltidbits.com. This is the 0Z model run forecast map for tomorrow morning. High pressure on this model as well, situated across southeastern Canada. Arctic air pouring down the east coast. Kind of a cold air damming situation setting up here, and moisture just to the north, south and west of the DC metro region. Let's now jump ahead 6 hours, and here we go. By early tomorrow afternoon, a mix of snow and rain in the DC metro region. Still not quite precipitating yet in Philadelphia, but cold air in place. Let's go out another 6 hours. Early tomorrow evening, snowing now. Any mixture that starts tomorrow afternoon in DC should change over to all snow tomorrow night, and I do agree with this scenario here, changing to snow in D.C. after an initial mixing. Snow arrives in the Philadelphia metro region by early tomorrow night. Let's jump ahead another 6 hours. Similar to the Canadian model, low pressure off the east coast, not exactly hugging the coast, but snowing in the D.C., Philadelphia, now just entering the New York City metro region. This is around midnight tomorrow night. Let's go out another 6 hours. There it is, low pressure off the east coast, not intensifying all that rapidly according to the GFS model. Let's now jump ahead another 6 hours. Still some snow, kind of a comma shape pattern to the precipitation field developing, but not exactly a powerful storm at this point in time according to the GFS model, and then it continues to intensify, but snow is kind of scattered here in eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, already over with down in the DC metro region. Another 6 hours, some scattered snow showers at this time. The storm not quite as intense as what the Canadian model had. And finally, let's go out to early Monday morning. Yes, indeed, a decent storm here east of Maine, but a little bit farther to the east and not quite as intense as the Canadian model. Monday, no doubt, will be a very cold and windy day for this time of the year in the I-95 corridor. So somewhat weaker solution compared to the Canadian model. A little bit farther to the east, a little bit less in the way of snow. Now here's the NAM model, North American Mesoscale model from last night, 0Z. This is a mesoscale type model, not a global model like what we just looked at with the Canadian and the GFS. This is a forecast map for tomorrow morning. High pressure southeastern Canada. Let's now jump ahead. This is actually in 3 hour increments. Now we're early afternoon, still nothing going on in the DC metro region. Let's now jump ahead another 3 hours. Here we go, a mixture starting to develop later tomorrow afternoon across DC. Another 3 hours later. Still raining in D.C., nothing in Philadelphia, and then it continues to rain into the early part of tomorrow night. We're continuing now. The NAM model does something kind of interesting. It kind of shifts from this initial wave, and it looks like it all dissipates and weakens for a while, but then it actually starts to re-intensify this storm system as we progress along here. Now we're at Sunday morning. All of a sudden, that low pressure area here early Sunday afternoon starts to intensify rapidly, basically holds back and waits for that second wave of energy. Suddenly this starts to become the main low and quite intense, with snow now breaking out in Sunday afternoon across D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. Let's keep walking through this here, and it ends up producing some decent snowfall across eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and intensifies quite rapidly here by this time. This is by Sunday evening, a 998 low, so somewhat of a different solution certainly than the Canadian and the GFS model. This is late Sunday night, pretty intense low sitting right off the mid-Atlantic coastline. This is more favorable for accumulating snow in the I-95 corridor, certainly from Philadelphia to New York City. And finally, Monday morning, still sitting just to the east of New Jersey. Certainly a slower solution than the other two models, and certainly a red flag here we have to pay attention to and monitor this with the model runs later today. But this is producing a pretty healthy snow event, certainly across eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York City, and points to the north and east. Finally, let's go out to Monday morning. quite an intense low, 986 low off of Cape Cod. Heavy snow at this time across Massachusetts and a good part of New England, basically blizzard-like conditions according to the NAM model from last night's zero-Z model run. Snow just winding down here in southeastern Pennsylvania, northern Maryland, and across New Jersey. Well, two more maps I want to point out come from Weather Bell Analytics of the European model run from last night, zero-Z. That particular model run shifted things a little bit more to the east. Certainly came in line more like the GFS model has been producing over the past few days. But a couple of red flags here that farther east solution may not hold, and we'll see later today. But this is an ensemble run of the European model, and basically an ensemble run runs multiple cases with slightly different initial conditions, therefore leading to different results. And all these L's represent positions of the different ensemble runs, and there's quite a bit of clustering right here, pretty close to the coastline from this zero-Z European ensemble run. There are some low pressure areas out to the east, but quite a bit of clustering here suggests to me that the European farther east solution overnight could change back to a closer to the coast solution. Many of the ensemble members are producing a low pressure area right near the mid-Atlantic coastline, so certainly that is not out of the realm of possibility that the European shifts back to the north and west as we progress through the day today and get closer to the event time. One final map I want to show, the very latest, the European total snowfall map for the upcoming event. And here it is, the European zero-Z snowfall map for the upcoming event, back down considerably from the 12Z run earlier yesterday, all because of that shift in the European model to the east. Again, don't be shocked if this all shifts a little bit back to the north and west and produces more in the way of snow accumulation along the I-95 corridor, basically a few inches, perhaps up to several inches around New York City, but a few inches in D.C. and Philadelphia. I'm leaning towards 1 to 3 inch snowfall in and around the D.C. metro region, 2 to 5 in and around southeastern Pennsylvania, Philly, and 3 to 6 in and around the New York City metro region. All, of course, subject to change over the next 24 to 48 hours or so, but certainly accumulating snow is still on the table for this weekend in the region between D.C., Philadelphia, and New York City. Stay tuned to VencoreWeather.com for updates later today. That's it for now. I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.